see Putin's visit to Beijing. Welcome to N.D.P. News, where we delve into current international affairs on a daily basis. In today's video, we'll discuss the recent meeting between Xi and Putin, and the positive remarks made by Putin toward Xi on their interest in mediating for the war in Ukraine. We'll also examine why the US is extremely skeptical of this. The recent meeting between Xi and Putin has caught the attention of the international community. In a statement made by Xi after his arrival in Moscow, he expressed confidence that the visit would be fruitful and give new impetus to the healthy and stable development of China-Russian relations. Putin in turn commended China's growth in recent years, and even admitted to envying it a little. Of particular interest is Putin's positive response to China's proposal to end the war in Ukraine, which he claimed to have carefully studied. Although the plan does not call for the withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine, Putin expressed his openness to the negotiation process and pledged to discuss the issue with Xi. In an article released by the Kremlin on the eve of Xi's visit, Putin also welcomed China's willingness to play a constructive role in resolving the crisis in Ukraine. The China-Russia Partnership Agreement signed by Xi and Putin weeks before the invasion of Ukraine last year has also been a subject of scrutiny. While China has remained neutral in the Ukraine conflict, it has criticized Western sanctions against Russia and reaffirmed its close ties with Moscow. Putin, for his part, called Xi his good old friend and expressed high hopes for his visit. The Chinese leader's visit comes amid concerns that China may be providing lethal weapons to Russia for its war in Ukraine, although China denies these allegations. It also comes just days after Putin was accused of war crimes by prosecutors at the International Criminal Court, including the forced removal of Ukrainian children to Russian territory. The positive remarks made by Putin toward Xi's interest in mediating for the war in Ukraine has caused skepticism in the US. While the US has also been pushing for an end to the conflict, it remains wary of any collaboration between China and Russia. Now, before we break it all down, if you enjoy the content that we put together for you here on the channel, please take a second to like the video and subscribe so you stay in the loop with everything that's going on as we journey through this current international affair. And with that, on we go. Is China a genuine peace broker in the Ukraine conflict? As Xi returns to Beijing after his recent visit to Russia, the complex and contradictory dynamics that shape his relationship with Putin continue to pose significant challenges. On one hand, Xi wants to strengthen his alliance with Putin, and on the other hand, he seeks to position himself as a global peacemaker. These two objectives are inherently contradictory and cannot be reconciled easily. During Xi's recent visit, Putin went out of his way to provide a warm welcome, rolling out the red carpet and treating his guests to Siberian salmon and a brass band. The two leaders shared a toast to the deepening of the Russian-Chinese partnership. This personal bond is a key feature of the relationship between the two leaders, with Xi famously referring to Putin as his best friend. This strategic bromance has become a defining characteristic of the relationship between China and Russia. However, despite the warmth and apparent closeness of the personal relationship between Xi and Putin, China's position on the war in Ukraine remains problematic. China has not condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, nor has it taken a firm position on the issue of Ukrainian territorial sovereignty. This lack of clarity and support for Ukraine's territorial integrity has led many to question China's claims to be a peacemaker in the conflict. Recently, Xi published a 12-point position paper on the crisis in Ukraine. While the paper offered a way forward for resolving the conflict, it did not explicitly call for the respect of Ukraine's territorial sovereignty. Instead, the paper implicitly blamed NATO for provoking the conflict. This stance has been met with skepticism by the United States, who see China's refusal to condemn Russia's invasion as a significant barrier to resolving the crisis. In the joint statement released by Xi and Putin after the recent meeting, the Russian side welcomed China's willingness to play a positive role in resolving the Ukraine crisis. However, critics argue that China must take a more active and unbiased approach to act as an honest broker between Russia and Ukraine. As it stands, China's support for Russia's position in the conflict undermines its claims to be a neutral mediator. The personal relationship between Xi and Putin may strengthen their alliance, but it's not enough to overcome the inherent contradictions that define their relationship. Xi's ambition to be a global peacemaker puts him in a difficult position, as he must balance his support for Putin with his commitment to resolving conflicts in a way that is fair and just for all parties involved. One of the main challenges facing Xi is the potential for regime change in Russia. If the war in Ukraine ends on Ukrainian terms, China's close ties with Russia make it difficult for Xi to support Ukrainian sovereignty without undermining his alliance for Putin. This tension between China's geopolitical interests and its claims to be a peacemaker makes it challenging for Xi to find a way forward that is acceptable to all parties involved. Xi Jinping's attempt at being a global statesman. Reports had circulated that during his visit to Russia, Xi may have had a call with Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Such an action could have been seen as a gesture toward Xi's claims of being a neutral mediator. However, the call did not take place. Zelensky has expressed interest in speaking with Xi, and a recent article in the People's Daily mentioning Zelensky's name for the first time since October 2022 may be a signal that communication between the two leaders is still open. Despite the West's reluctance to accept China's neutrality in the Ukraine crisis, Xi is protecting an image of being a global statesman, particularly for domestic and global South audiences. China's official narrative is that it uses dialogue to resolve problems, unlike the US, which resorts to military solutions. China cites its recent role in brokering the restoration of diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran as evidence of this. However, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has downplayed China's involvement in this process, suggesting that Riyadh and Tehran were already working to improve relations. Xi's efforts to project China as a global statesman are also being noticed in other parts of the world. Last week, an alliance of rebel groups in Myanmar reached out to China for help in resolving the crisis in the country. However, Xi's most crucial audience is the one at home. After the economic pain and social discontent caused by 3 years of zero COVID policies, Xi is attempting to reassert China's position on the world stage. Having abolished term limits in 2018, Xi is now in his third term as China's leader. As a result, he's looking to leave a more substantial footprint in foreign policy, since he has struggled to improve the economy domestically. Let us know in the comments below what events you would like to see more of here on N.D.P News. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.